It's very nice to be introduced and have somebody pronounce my name properly. I don't think that's happening. Usually I do 2 hours, it's always a free-for-all. Anyway, you all know that. I married mine, I couldn't. Yeah, I turned into immigration, many people have to. So I'm here to talk about something that happened in a tiny town in Iceland, and I'm going to take you on the saga of Saga. So I would say good afternoon, and I want to thank everybody who invited us to come and to have the opportunity to talk about this. So, So I'm the North American representative for the Njál Saga Tapestry project of Iceland, and I'm going to start talking about the first stitch that was taken all the way to the report to build a museum for this treasure. It's the national treasure. I hope as many of you as possible saw the exhibit in the new Iceland Heritage Museum last night, and if you did not see the tapestry excerpt that we have hanging, it is in the Tara corner. So please take a look. And I would love to talk to anybody if you have questions later on during the conference. And make sure to pick up an info. All kinds of information, and it will help you. There's a catalog that helps you learn the story. So what on earth is Njál, and what is the Njál Saga Tapestry project? I don't want to give away all. You know that it's in this little tiny town on the south of and that it was the brainchild of these 3 women. Christina Petursson, this is an award-winning children's book artist. Christina Njál, who is a history and secondary school teacher, and Gimli at that time when they conceived this idea, the regional library. And they lived in Njál Saga country. They wanted to tell the story again in a new way. So they decided to tell it in a 90-meter long tapestry of hands-on embroidery using Icelandic woven in the bayou style. And this is just like the bayou tapestry with the inspiration. I know some people have seen it, many of you have seen it. It recounts the Norman invasion of 66, Norman as a. So our founders thought that through sewing this story, participants would go on a journey together. They would enjoy each other's company and interact with the saga. They might even sew with someone who was a descendant of one of the saga characters, many of the embroiderers. And they would experience the saga in a new way in the landscape where it happened. So where is it? And what is Njál Saga? Saga is a town of 1,000 people in the Njál Saga country on the ring road, and it's 1.5 hours east of the city of Oops, somebody let me take that. It is considered Iceland's mightiest saga, and it is so important that it is read from start to finish every November 16th in all the schools. There's the library, and definitely you can see the cross-section of people who come to hear it over. And it is also the motto of the Icelandic police is taken from Njál. Many of you may have heard of this in your home. And the other day, a line from the Saga was put to me by Claudia Petursson. She said this line to me in Icelandic. And one of the characters says, I stand where I stand, in Icelandic. And also mentioned that her ex-mother-in-law is very much a reincarnation of Hafger, very complex and some people have very strong feelings about her. She's very complex. So I want you all to know that even in Gimli is so that's our numbers. Christina, Gönüllüler Öncesi realized something remarkable had happened in their land, and they wanted to build bridges in what was beneath their feet, and in the air, and in the memories, and bring it forth. Now, if we look at the University of Iceland Saga map, Njál Saga took place across most of the country. You can do that. But if you zoom in, you see the red circle. That's telling you where so much of the action of the saga took place. And the red arrow was indicating, and only two things happened there, and they were about people trading land, really dull. So it's really focused on this southwest part of the country. And I think they did something very daring in a digital age when you could have just instantly rendered this on the computer. They decided to do something slow and strange and old-fashioned, and they dared to tell this story by Saga Tapestry. This Iraqna took a year and a half. This was 19 meters. That is 10 yards shorter than a Canadian football. And the tapestry founders chose the bio. This is a late work embroidery stitch for those of you who do work. And it is just particular for showcasing accuracy and expression and movement. And if you were to do something impressionistic, you wouldn't convey what the story means. You need all the details. So technical, for all the details about what farm they're on, what road they're going down, and who's fighting whom. And if it were less accurate, it would be even harder to remember and to comprehend. So here on the left, we have Gunnar, who's one of the first characters in the saga, and they don't explain why, but she's very subdued at her wedding feast. And you can see her face, she's not having a good time. And then you have Gunnar when he's looking back at the beautiful slopes of this beautiful farm, and you can feel the wind blowing across the dappled linen, and it's just, you're there, it's shocking. So we have soaring voices and broken hearts and angry gatherers of light. These are the person that I am. As I mentioned, this was a community project. Has been seen here is building the frame for the tapestry. And then you can see how we were arranged in the room. We decided this long, 10-meter table. And meet people from around the world. I think on that day I was the person who spoke English. The yarns and I with some landscape, and it took a lot of trial and error to get the talent. Here we have something that's kind of ironic. We love to do it. They did not use the flowers or the purple color, but they used the leaves to make the sunny green, the golden green. And there were a lot of mistakes. As we can see from this garish, and what that is like a conqua, from the snot used on the tapestry, and then you can see the final palette. So when they were ready to sew, they needed a monumental person that was going to start their monumental. And this is Atma. She took the first bit in 2013, and she is the first Icelandic woman ever, and the first Icelandic woman to think about this, family ancestors, to walk unaided, unsupported, and alone. And then the postdoctoral community did something even more. They invited the world to serve this guy. It was not done by a group of experts. They allowed anyone and everyone to come. So starting in February 2013, the tapestry was sewn for the next 7 years and 7 months in 12,518 discrete entries of sewing by locals in countries and all continents except Antarctica. Although maybe people are planning to, I just thought of that. I know I saw it because I was in 6 months that actually did, and anyone's connection is the young, the mature, the beginner, the expert, the famous, the obscure, the casual clothes, and national dress, the scholars, the Japanese, and even celebrating turning 6. This is Meta, and her sole desire is to become so. Now, somebody asked me, excuse me, asked me a question last night in the session. And they said, okay, they invited everybody, but we're gonna give a group. When they left, they go back and pick out all their work. And the answer is no. This is an example here. You can see on the bottom that the line is, this was like a, if you were new to this, you could start on this line before. The tapestry all the way. And you would start, and you can see the person on the bottom was pretty good. It's even, it's not lumpy. The person on the top is not lumpy. And the reason was that they didn't want to have a uniformity. They wanted it to look as the work of many hands. And here's one of my teachers, the website. And she was a very friendly lady, but this is a great picture for the story I'm going to tell. So coming back to this idea of picking out bad work. I was trying to sew a border after I showed that I was pretty good at it and then stuff on the bottom. And that's my top border. And I was pretty good. Anyway, I was invited to then sew a second border. But I came by one day, for some reason our second matched up. We sewed a lot together. She comes and she looks at the first one and she says, and then she looks at the second one, she says, "You're good at that." And I really like this because we live in this kind of everybody gets a trophy society. And I liked being shown that my work wasn't that great and that I was getting better. And it inspired me to then keep going, and I was invited to sew the main character that we saw. So it wasn't a punitive environment, but it was an honest environment. And in all of my research about tapestry projects, and there are a lot of them, and you can see that list, and Canada is included in 2 of them. Kosovo is the only project that is crowned. All of these other communities gather a small group of people, sometimes it's 10 people, sometimes it's 50 people, but it is not the whole world. And so I think this is a remarkable example of this and inclusion and trust, saying, you know, maybe your work is really good. And I was one of those people in that crowd. And I discovered the project in 2018 and have been involved ever since. So I'm over 100 hours on the tapestry and the traveling excerpt. And I encountered the tapestry when they only had 15 meters left to sew. And one day I asked a fateful question. Where is the museum where this is going to be opened? Because I added, I think the Nordic communities of North America would be very interested in this. And these are all our invitations to show the tapestry in the coming summer. And the tapestry project is also making an impact, connecting us in a remarkable. This is Líðí, who's on the bottom. She's the first person who invited me to sew. Back in November 2018. And here I am with her cousin Natalie in Minneapolis. Right. I love the 100th anniversary. You heard about Jeannie. What are the chances that I was sewing with with Saga, who is just directed to me, and she's the first person who said, "Yeah, come on, no, but you know, you're sewing a national character. You don't want people like us." She's like, "That's the point. Everything's up." And then I meet her lovely cousin. And some people would say to me, "I don't do this. I don't sew. I'm not interested. I do other things, or I don't work with my hands at all." They try it. They try things out on Tapestry. Because she discovered she was a master writer, but she also decided this isn't my thing. And she now sews the most incredible national costumes. I can get you her contact information if you want to see one. And this is actually a very specific. She goes to town. So she became a springboard for an incredible self-expression on her part. And another thread, this is Haftor Imason, and he was the director of the Reykjavik Art Museum from 2005 to 2013. And then he came to the Seattle area and became the director of the Western Washington University Gallery. He is the cousin of one of the founders. So big project in this family. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to two people. Maxine Engel is sitting over here, and she actually sewed Tapestry and brought her grandkids. And Ruth Carter. Yes, they're good. Ruth knows a woman on Vancouver Island, Petursson, and she sewed Tapestry, and we'll be meeting her hopefully in the Tapestry to Mechosen. So just worldwide tendrils of this wool keeping us together. The main tapestry was finished on September 15, 2020, and the final pictures were created by a group of writers. And you can see poking into the take notes. There was joy and amazement when the tapestry was completed, and also so many years together and so much sharing and such a common purpose. Well, I asked the community, we need a calling card because we can't take 9 meters on the road. So they were very excited and they sewed meters, and that's what's on display in Charter Corner. And so we all hunkered down and got working. And this is the day that Good Hunter handed off the benefit. Hands it off. And my husband, and we are taking it on the road. We don't have a tour bus. Sometimes we wish we did, it's probably a little more comfortable. Super surprises, then different hotels. Yeah. But these are our stops. And if you want to come and meet us, we're going to be about we'll be used. If you want to find us and then dates, we will be traveling all the way. And this is where we share about this crowd project. We would love it to be a crowd-built museum. So make sure you get one of the folders that I brought, and it has information about how you can support us. And with your help, celebrating the historic ties between Canadian West Islanders and the Iceland, we can continue this legacy of celebrating our creativity and our culture and sharing with the whole world what to do so well. Binding together in shared love of handwork and hard work, creativity and tenacity, and that special Icelandic daring and courage that has been embodied with me for years. So thank you all so much. And I look forward to seeing you in the exhibit rooms and answering any questions that you might have. And also at the New Heritage Museum, you can buy kits that are of the tapestry scene. And, if you want to stop by and ask for some help on something. I hope it is here.